Oh, hello YouTube. So, keeping in with my consistency from a whole review ago, I have taken a note from this movie and read this completely random book. Went to a witch's grave and just sort of read it. It worked. No more zombies. Yeah. It was that easy. But anyway, happy Halloween. And to celebrate the ending of October, yeah, I know, I'm just kind of sad about it. I'm going to be taking a look at ParaNorman. So, yeah, let's get into it. So, the story is about a boy named Norman who can talk and speak to the dead. How? I'm just getting my hand. Anyway, so he can talk and speak to the dead, and he can see them and everything. Sort of pretty much like the Sixth Sense. But lately he's been seeing a bit more than just the dead and their spirits. Now he's also been seeing these strange visions that he's been having of a witch's curse, which he's also doing a play for in school. I'm sure nothing will happen in the play. So after something happens in the play, which is him freaking out about it because, well, he just got a vision with a tree saying that the dead are coming, I'd freak out too. Although something kind of weird about this vision, he's running in this one, and yet he's still exactly where he is on stage. They clearly point out that he does everything that he does in this vision in real life, it's just he's the only one saying what's going on. But does that mean he was just running around on the stage and no one noticed? Was he taking turns everywhere on the stage? Was he going in a circle? Was he being lifted up somehow? Did no one question that? Or was that just all in his head? I don't know. I don't know why, but this bugs me. So, pretty much after getting this vision, he also bumps into his uncle, who is telling him, okay, I know you've been seeing these visions and everything. Well, these visions mean that you gotta go get this book, and that's all he gets to say, because Norman's new friend Neil scares his uncle off with an apple and hummus. The most terrifying weapons out there. So, pretty much, his uncle dies. No one's sad to see him go. I dare even say they forgot that he died. So I guess his body's just left in his studies to rot forever. Well, that's a dark turn. So, pretty much now he appears to Norman in the bathroom because Norman was getting picked on for what happened at the play. So he just goes in and hides in the bathroom because I guess no one will interrupt him in there. They can still pick on him, but they won't interrupt him. But then when Norman's uncle comes in to tell him, okay, you gotta go get this book from my dead body, from inside my dead body's hands, and you gotta read from it at the witch's grave. And I gotta admit, this is a really cool scene. I'll talk about it later, but just keep it in mind. It's a really cool scene. So now Norman is going up to Mr. Prendergast's house to go get this book and read from it. Of course, he actually gets the book. You would think that there would be an obstacle, but no, he just gets the book with ease. I mean, it's kind of annoying to get out of the body's hands, but aside from that, it's pretty easy. So now he's got the book, so he goes off to the grave after angering this bully named Alvin, who of course decides to chase him because he wanted him dead for being in the bathroom earlier. Yeah, this is a really strange scene that I forgot to bring up. Yeah, the whole entire bathroom scene with Mr. Pendergast's ghost and Norman. Yeah, Alvin's also in the bathroom when that happens, but then when Norman leaves, he runs out of the school chasing him, saying that he's going to kill him. I mean, I get he's a bully and everything, but why is he gotta kill him? I mean, it makes sense later when when Norman sort of embarrassed him in front of these girls that he was trying to impress, but when Norman's just in the bathroom? Woo! Totally explained! No, it's not! They never go into any detail about why he wanted revenge on him for that. In fact, there was no reason why he would want revenge on him before it. There was no, like, him seeing him in the bathroom would be like, oh yeah, I hate that guy, I'm gonna go out there and try to get revenge. No, he didn't do anything to him. Just out of the blue, he wants revenge or something. Maybe he was just in a bad mood that day, I don't know. So, Norman goes and reads from the book, although he finds out that it's a fairy tale. This is kind of strange, and then he was also reading it in the wrong place. He was supposed to be reading at the witch's grave, but instead he went to the 7 victims' grave. I can understand how he would mess that up, but actually no, I blame his uncle more because his uncle should have said where the grave was. His uncle should have given him like a clear map or something. Like say, hey, there's a map in my studies right next to my dead body. Go look at it. It'll help you. So now the 7 victims have come back from the grave and are trying to talk to Norman, but of course they're zombies now, so I don't think they're gonna get that much time to talk. So they go running away, and to be honest, this is where the movie kinda got weak for me. Like, this is kind of the point where in the middle I didn't really like it. It's pretty much just a chase. There are some really funny jokes in it, but like there's one scene where they need to break into this place, and so they ask Alvin, hey, can you break into this place? You seem like someone who would know that. And what he does is he gets a crime prevention seminar poster or something. He gets it out and crashes it through the window to break in. That is hilarious. But and so pretty much now they have stopped these zombies, but first they need to find the witch's grave. So they go in, they go to the town hall where they think that her grave spot will be documented, and there's a lot of archives to shuffle through. While that's happening, there's a mob of people fighting the zombies. Yeah, how most of the time it's the other way around. This movie decides, yeah, no, have the townspeople fight the zombies. They're clearly able to take care of it. And I dare say they're a little bit too good. There's a kid literally ripping some zombie's arm off. Jeez. And she's enjoying every minute of it. This is an insane town. They got like 3 insane people out, this whole entire mob. But, yeah, I guess the mob is cool with what they're doing, and never question their motives. And so now, while they're reading through the documents, I can't give anything else away. Really, if I talk about anything else, it'll spoil it. And I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But I do need to talk about it, so I'll try and do it spoiler free. So what happens after this scene is, so pretty much much what happens next is, okay, my best way to describe it, take whatever you thought that this movie was going to do, like whatever bad idea you thought was going to have, put that in a bowl and burn it. Then take every good idea that this movie could do with a twist, put that in a bowl, and keep that. Because that is what this movie does. What this movie does is the exact opposite of what you would think it would do. It plays with your expectations in this part, and what you thought would just be like a race to beat the zombies to the witch's grave is nothing like that. They take advantage of every idea that they have to make the ending of this movie work. They do it wonderfully. And in honor of that, I'm not gonna spoil. I'm not gonna say a word of what they do at the end of this movie, just in case if you haven't seen it. But if you have, you know what I'm talking about. So, for this movie, I actually kind of relate to it in some way. Well, okay, I mean, like, I relate more to the main character. I was kind of like that in school before I went to before I went to online school, and before I did any of that. I was in public school for a bit, and for like 4 years I was in public school, and I was I was a pretty weird kid in school. I didn't have that many friends. I just sort of hung out with like myself sometimes, or just sort of like these people I would hang out with, sort of like a group. We would just sort of hang out together, and I was usually picked on, not physically, just sort of verbally. And that's sort of what happened to the main character here. It's just not really all that bad. It's just sort of really annoying. So I could really relate to what the main character was going through with Alvin in this movie. I had two people that were like that to me in school, and they were annoying. So I can really relate to what they do with this. And I think that what they do with it, they do great. It really does feel like a genuine high school. It does feel like, or like at least a genuine middle school, I guess you could say, because it doesn't really seem like a high school class. And it does feel like how it felt for me at school when I was kind of weird then. I still kind of am, I guess. But, I do really relate to what they do with that, but aside from that, like, if you can't relate to this, then there is definitely more to find with this movie. Particularly in the beginning and the end. Those two parts are definitely the best. The beginning, while starting off kind of slow, definitely does get better with a little bit of time. And what they do at the end, again, it's wonderful. They really make you think, like, okay, who's the real monster in this scenario? Is it the townspeople who are fighting all these zombies without any mercy and just doing it out of fear of what will happen? Or is it the zombies for what they did in the past? Or is it the witch? I mean, sure, she was innocent, but think about what she's doing now. She's not really keeping that innocent slate anymore. So, there is so much that goes on with this ending. It is so great how much questioning and how much expectation they can put into a kid's movie. Oh, and also, this movie does use some pretty choice words. They use the A word. They actually say the F word. They don't say the actual word, but they just say the F word. They say the H word, the D word. I don't have my cuss jar right now, that's why I won't say them. So they do cuss a bit in this movie. So yeah, that's probably why I got some parental guidance here. But they don't really cuss that much. So, like, Like, if you have a really young kid, and if you're wondering, like, if this is a movie that you want to show them, it's cool that you're watching my video, and also, yeah, you might want to wait for a bit. But, really, they do take real advantages with what they have here. It feels like they could have done what The Sixth Sense did. With what The Sixth Sense did was really good for its own movie, but if they did that in this movie, it wouldn't have worked. But what they do with this movie is really great. I really love what they do with it. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely go check it out. But then I also gotta talk about the middle half. Good thing this part is the shortest part. It's not a bad part, and it does have some of my favorite jokes in it, but, like, again, with the crime prevention seminar thing, but it's definitely more of the kid-friendly half. I mean that, like, yeah, they use pretty much the more kid material in this half. I don't know, it just sort of feels like what they were trying to do with this part is more like a different feel than what the movie was going for, and it feels more like a chase than what the movie's actually supposed to be, dramatic and very serious, with some humor thrown in. But it does do some parts right, like with the atmosphere it can create from the house and the graveyard setting. It does create that very well. But the zombies are pretty out of tone with their characters here. I'll talk about later, but what you see with the zombies in the end and what you see in the middle with them, they feel like completely different characters, feeling more silly and like comic relief than how they are later. And that's kind of the biggest problem with the middle. It's not that bad, it's really well animated too, but again, I'll talk about that later. But there are definitely some flaws. So, for the story, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. It is a really good story in the beginning and at the end, but the middle part is just where it falls flat. Although the middle part does have some good parts of it too. So, it's definitely more character based than story based. And seeing as we've already seen the sort of story before, but it's the characters that are in it that keep us coming. So, yeah, 8 out of 10. And the characters are mainly what gets you through this movie. Or at least through the middle half. If it were a worse movie or worse direction with the middle half, I probably wouldn't have stayed for the end, but with what they do with the characters in the middle, they do it fine. And the story itself is really interesting. Trust me, I didn't even touch the more interesting half of this movie. So, yeah, since I was talking about the characters so much just a second ago, let's talk about them some more. On to the characters. Okay, so for the characters, I'm going to start off with my favorite, and of course the main character, Norman, who, again, I really do relate to. Even down to his relationship with him and his grandma. It actually is a very sweet relationship. They do seem to have had a lot of time. They did really seem very close and everything. Making it all the more sad that she's dead. That took another dark turn. Why am I taking so many dark turns today? But, so he is a pretty interesting character and how he can see ghosts and how his personality works with him being more of a shut-in, and it makes more sense why he is. And him sort of just having to come over the fact that he's a shut-in instead of more coming over the loser stereotype or the nerdy stereotype or the geeky stereotype or anything like that. Or the overconfident stereotype. He's kind of a mix of all of these. So, that's kind of an interesting thing about his character, but outside of that, there's not really too much to him. I mean, we totally taking the situation seriously, but if you think about it, he's seen a lot of ghosts. He's seen a lot of all this dead stuff and everything, so he's not really all that afraid of the scenario with this, and they kind of show that, really. It's more the execution of the character than his personality that actually stays with him, which his execution is definitely best. It's definitely the best part of him in how he can develop from the shut-in to um, being less of a shut-in, I guess. Yeah, his personality don't really change in the end. I guess that's sort of a mix of be true to yourself stereotype, but they do it great, so I won't complain. Then after him is Courtney, his sister, who apparently was actually the hardest character for the makers of this movie to actually do. Really, look it up. Watch the animation look back. It was really hard for them to make her. Even watch the bonus features. I watched them to get confirmation on that. She was their hardest character to do just because of her personality, which is being more of a, I guess you could say, more of a valley girl, I guess. Yeah, none of the people working on this project were ever like her. So they had a really hard time with her, having to get her character down, but also getting her some good, more like sisterly relationship with her and her brother near the end development. And they do it really good. I mean, she gets some good development. At the end, I can safely say I didn't want to see her get eaten. I'm glad that she didn't, so there's that. So they definitely do make her step out more of the valley girl personality to become more of a sisterly valley girl. So she is kind of an interesting character. Again, all the characters really in this movie are much better for their development than their original personality that they start off with. So that's really something that I want to push out there, because that's really what happens a lot in this movie. And Courtney's a pretty good example. She's not bad, she's just mediocre. Then after her is Neil, who I don't hate, but I can say in the middle is definitely where he's at his funniest. Or at least when he's in the car with Courtney and his brother Mitch. That's really when he's at his funniest. But outside of that, his personality kind of changes in the end. Like, in the van, he's sort of shown being a bit smarter than his brother, who's much older than him. But then later on in the movie, they have Neil celebrating over having finished up one page of the book, where having finished up this 126-page book, well, even Mitch groans at that. Does that mean that Mitch read more than he did? Does that technically mean that Mitch is smarter than that, thus debunking the whole idea of what was going on in the car? But, yeah, he's not an awful character, and he's definitely more of the sort of making Norman a bit more open to more friends sort of thing. And now there was a cut scene from the movie that was supposed to show how they were a bit better friends than what's actually shown. It's sort of showing like a passage of time thing with them becoming more close as friends or something. But that was kind of out of the movie, and yeah, it doesn't really change their friendship. So after him, we have Alvin. Oh my God, what's there to say about Alvin? Alvin is obnoxious. Yes, and I did say before, he is pretty funny, but he's also incredibly annoying. He is the character that I found the least tolerable in this movie, and with good reason. because of the way he's done. He doesn't change in the end, so there's no development for him. So it's not really getting me to change my opinion on him. And, well, he's still not a bad character. I just don't really like what they did with him or what direction they went. Then after him we have Mitch, who, again, is just supposed to be kind of the idiot in the story. Which I guess does work, but I don't hate him. I mean, he's an okay character, and he's kind of funny, but I don't know, I guess he's not that bad. And I guess that was their goal, to not get you not hate him, but just say, I put up with him, he's okay. Which, yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say on him. After him, we have Mr. Poltergeist. And really, with Mr. Prendergast, there's not that much to him. Pretty much the most interesting thing that we get out of him is, well, how he reacts about everything going on. He sort of has his own brand of crazy in his own world, which can be funny at times, especially in his death scene. Really, this is one of the few movies where they actually make death funny. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. And it is kind of interesting to think, like, how much of a toll actually stopping the witch's curse every year took on him, and sort of brought him up to this crazy in his own world state. But outside of that, there's not too much interesting things going on with him. Then after that, we have Norman's parents. And with Norman's parents, again, they're a lot like mine. I don't know how that keeps on happening with this movie, but they seem to do it somehow. Yeah, his parents are actually quite like my own, which is kind of strange, but pretty much their characters are, his mom is a supportive mom who has kind of chosen a weird person to marry. I mean, they're pretty much the exact opposite people, but they happen my parents too, so it happens in real life, I guess. So with the dad being the dad's a little bit more, I guess you could say he's more cynical and is not really approving of how Norman acts, which can also make sense, but also his love for his son does shine through, and how he's more scared for his son than he is of him. Yeah, okay, I stole the line from the mom, but shut up. It's still a line. I can still use it, so, and that's pretty much all they get. In the end, I guess you could say the dad got the development of he's more accepting of his son, but really that's pretty much all that happens with him. So, after them, we move on to by far the two most interesting characters in this movie. Not necessarily the most funny, or not even in the least, or not really the best characters, but definitely the most interesting. Next one that we're looking at is Angry Aggie, or just Aggie, if you want to say it, if you just want to call her that. And, oh my gosh, Angry Aggie is by far the best, the most fascinating character. Okay, so I don't want to spoil anything. Again, I do want to point that out. I'm not trying to spoil, because what they do with this is so good. But pretty much, I do have to talk about her. So, pretty much, I gotta sum her up without giving anything away. And trust me, that's hard. That is so freaking hard. But, okay, so, wow, it's really hard to actually describe her, oh my gosh, without spoiling. because really, I do not want to spoil. They just do so much great steps with her. I'm not gonna spoil, but she's pretty much just a tragic character who was just caught doing something that she shouldn't have been doing, and that's about all I can say. She was caught doing something she wasn't supposed to. Tragedy ensued. Not gonna say what she was doing or what the tragedy is about her because that'll be giving too much away, but you just gotta see it. You just gotta see what they do with Angry Aggie for yourself. Really. Haven't seen this movie? Go to your library. Go look online. Go look on TV. I'm sure it'll be like an after Halloween thing or something. Go search somewhere. Go search somewhere. Go search Netflix. I don't care. Go search eBay. To find this movie and see what they do with her. She makes it worth it. Trust me. She makes it worth it. And then after her are some other characters who make it worth it. But these ones I'm going to talk about is more of a group sort of thing. Now I'm going to talk about these zombies. Which, again, not giving anything away, but they're pretty fascinating. They're the characters that kind of make the moral that I talked about before with the who's the real monster thing in the scenario work. There were people brought on by fear to do a terrible thing, but they were brought on by fear. You don't know if you should blame them for anything or if they're just the victims of the scenario. They did something awful, but they just did it out of pure fright. They were just scared of what was going on. They didn't know what to do. So they just did what they thought was right. They knew their way in life, but in death they're pretty clueless. They're very tragic characters, to say the least. And yeah, we do get to know more about the judge in the scenario than all the other zombies of the 7 victims, but the judge about says everything that needs to be said. And then after them is the character which really I forgot about, Salma. Which don't you just love that name? Salma. I know they're paying homage to the town and everything, but that name is pretty awesome. Salma. Just think of that. This is a town brought on by tourism from which stuff, any witch merchandise stuff brought into the town. That is a great name to name. That is a great thing to name your child in a town like that. And really, she's an okay character. I actually don't understand why they don't use her more in this movie. I kind of enjoyed her character. She doesn't do anything awful. She's more of a nerd in the movie, but she does actually help out a lot by explaining to them how he gets to the witch's grave, how to find out where it is, and everything like that. Actually, she's a pretty good character. She's just hardly in the movie. So, for the characters, they don't get much development. But they don't really get that much of they don't really get much of a personality at the beginning. They just sort of start off with, well, the basics, and then expand from that. And their expansion is great. They go the extra mile to make their character development feel like it could be in any movie. Live action, adult, kid, it doesn't matter. It makes it feel like their development and the character that they give to all these just little clay figures and 3D printed faces feel all the more realistic just because of the way that they just do it. The way they do this is just great. But they also have some great animation to back them up, so let's take a look at that. On to the animation. Okay, I'm just gonna start this off the bat with saying this animation is beautiful. Their animation here is just stunning. Every little detail's been put into place. When the zombies are bursting out of the ground, they have every speck of dirt put in. Yeah, they really actually made little bits of dirt to put into their movie. They could have just put that in digitally, but no. They went the extra mile to put in actual little pieces of clay that they made into the size of dirt for their movie. There's a whole entire little short in the bonus feature, really. If you're going to watch this movie, get the DVD, watch the bonus features if you're an animation fan. Or if you just want to see how this animation was made, get the DVD. I have the DVD. I actually watched the commentary. I got so invested. There was a whole entire scene in the bonus features talking about how they just made a lamp for their movie. And you know what? It's fascinating. I was invested in what happened with how they made the lamp. They actually welded real glass for this lamp and actually made a real functioning lamp for this movie. And made it miniature. That is amazing. Oh, and okay, again, I want to bring up what they said with that whole entire bathroom scene with Norman and his uncle Spirit. Okay, so in that whole scene, it's just like 40 seconds with these toilet paper zombie things, just giving like a demonstration, right? Do I know how long that thing took to make? A year. A freaking year. Yeah, that's right, a year. You wanna know why? You wanna know why? Because they actually had to make actual freaking toilet paper like thin clay without having it easily break for these zombie like creatures that they would make out of toilet paper just for a visual aid in the bathroom area. So it took them a whole year to get this down. And then make the zombies, then animate it, and it's just amazing. And also, this is the very first animated movie to use a 3D colored printer. With Coraline, they use a 3D printer, but this one's the first one to use a colored one. They use that on every single face. Now, keep this in mind after that information has just now been given. Keep this in mind. There are 24 frames per second for every second of animated film. So, just for 1 second of film, they would have to wait at least 12 hours to get a face out of this 3D printer, apply it to the characters, take a picture, make sure they're in their position, and then they got 1 frame out of those 24. Then they gotta do it again, and again, and again, for an hour and a half. That's just how much dedication they have to this. Oh, and here's something kind of interesting as well. Yeah, I know too many facts about this, but screw it, I love this movie. So, I love the subject of the animation. So, pretty much, when you actually see Mr. Prendergast's house, it's just one shot. But they built a whole entire house thing for it. They built a whole house set for that. One shot. They never used that set again. The director was actually very upset about that in the commentary, but they built a whole house set for that. And they do that again, just when their car, when they're driving to Witch's grave, is just taking a turn. A freaking turn! Oh, and also, this movie has hand-drawn animation in it. Yeah, really. Again, bonus feature. This is why I like watching bonus features. It gives me these little facts. In the scene where Angry Aggie is emerging from the ground, with the electricity and everything. There's electricity when she's coming out of the ground. That was actually hand drawn. I'm guessing it's not that hard. They could just scribble it to make the electricity. Her puppet was actually stop motion, and her hair and her dress and everything and all her effects and stuff were computer generated. She is the ultimate anime character for combining those three mediums. That is how far they go with this animation. And just in case if you were questioning, 10 out of 10. I love the animation. I love the detail. I love the way that they make these. I love the way the ghosts can sometimes carry their physical feature of how they died into their spiritual versions of themselves. It's great. I love what they do with this. The animation, if you're just an animation fan and you haven't seen this yet, what are you doing watching my video? Put me on watch later. Go watch the movie. Again, go watch it. I love what they do with this, and I was not disappointed at all with this animation. So, again, 10. Just 10. I love this animation. 10. So, for this movie itself, it definitely did get a little bit more slow in the middle, but that doesn't stop it from still remaining a good and interesting movie. The characters, well, pretty much down to their basic form at first, do get a whole lot of development pretty much right after the movie starts off, and they just keep that going throughout this whole film. The jokes are funny, they hit the point, the animation is spectacular, and what they can do with animation and making it definitely feel much more than just a kid medium, which it definitely isn't, they definitely show with this film. If you think that animation is for kids, go check this out. And now, there is a chance that it might confirm your theory, but it also might give you a whole new perspective on it. And the hard work and dedication that these people put into this movie is definitely just worth checking it out. It's a great movie, and I just love watching it. So, for this movie, I'm gonna give it a 9.5 out of 10. Yeah, that's right, I love it that much. It's that great, it's got every point that it needs to hit done. It has the parts for kids, but it definitely has some aspects for adults, too. And if you get it, then that makes it all the more interesting. And I'm glad with the stuff that they can get away with in this movie. So yeah, 9.5 out of 10. And also, I got this video out on time, finally! Shut up, people that somehow got into my house. Really, how did you even get in here? That's not even an answer. No, I don't care. So yeah, I got this one out on time, and my next, which is actually pretty good, and my next review is, no. Nope, not doing it. Not doing it. I am not looking at that piece of crap. No, you cannot make me watch that again. I don't care if it has Keith David. I'm not watching it again. I'm putting my foot down. No. Can't make me. Nope. Just no. No. Next week is Free Birds. Yeah. Are you sure I have to? Are you sure?